I've never given a shit about baseball. It always seemed like such a boring sport. Everyone's just standing around waiting for the ball to come their way. I never really understood it. That's why I was incredibly surprised when I watched Tamayomi Baseball Girls and had a great time. So, how did an anime about baseball manage to entertain me, someone who's always been so indifferent to the sport? Well, let's find out. Okay, so Tamayomi Baseball Girl starts us off with our main character, Yomi Takeda, walking into her new high school. So, her story is that she's some kind of awesome pitcher that never managed to win a game in middle school, since her catcher couldn't really keep up with her epic skills, right? Because apparently she was too busy playing with her Nintendo Switch to give a shit. Yomi then reunites with her childhood friend, Tamaki Yamazaki, the secondary main character, a star catcher and pretty good batter from a middle school team that made it all the way to nationals. After this, they decide to enter the school's practically empty baseball club, and the show begins. The first 3 episodes of this show serve as an introduction to all the girls in the team, and we get a whole slew of generic archetypes. But even if they're generic, I still kinda like the way they're introduced. The characters' backstories and motivations are pretty cool. They're basic, but the way they relate to baseball is nice. I already talked about Yomi's backstory, but I'm gonna give one more example. You see, the reason the school's baseball club is so empty is because of a scandal that happened a few years back, in which the coaches of the team started using physical abuse and violence in their training. Soon enough, everybody left because, the sport just wasn't fun for them anymore, and honestly, I wouldn't blame them. I also wouldn't be having fun if, I was getting physically abused. Enter second years Rei and Riza, who were the only ones passionate enough to stay in the club, and it's because of them that the club is still alive by the time Yomi shows up. They were only there for preservation though. They had no intention of making a new team, and it wasn't until Yomi, like any other shonen-esque protagonist, reminds them how fun baseball is through dedication and awesome pitches that they decided to participate in the team. Like I said, the backstories are basic, but they do serve their purpose, and dedicating one episode to each chunk of girls was a good structure to take in order to not make the pacing feel too fast or too slow. Before I move on to the rest of the show, I want to talk about one theme that the show really focuses on, as generic as it may be, and that's teamwork. Yeah, of course an anime about baseball is going to focus on teamwork, but I really like the relationship of the battery, Tamaki and Yomi. Yomi's whole backstory literally just exists to show us that you can't have a good pitcher without a good catcher. So yeah, there's a lot of basic generic hey, you can only win with teamwork, but it's done well enough to the point where it's not annoying. Okay, so now that the basic gist of the plot and characters is out of the way, let's talk about baseball. So yeah, the baseball in this show is great, at least from what I know about baseball. Not only did it make me understand the appeal of the sport, it also managed to hype me up for what's basically just regular baseball. I've never been so excited for someone to throw a ball than during my time watching this anime, and that's in part thanks to the surprisingly amazing soundtrack. Now, I'm no music expert and I couldn't find this OST anywhere, so I can't show you so you can check for yourself, but what I can say is that the music consistently kept me at a state of hype, and later on even managed to contain some intimidating tracks and even some sad piano melodies. I cannot stress enough how much the soundtrack helped this show be an enjoyable experience for me. And on the topic of music, that opening is an absolute banger. When people hear the words baseball and anime girls, they expect one thing: thighs. Now, how are the thighs in this show? Come on, because I know you guys want the answer. To be frank, this show actually has little to no fan service and practically never calls direct attention to the girls' thighs. I can only think of 3 scenes where this happens. 2 are played for comedy, where one of the characters just feels them out to be like, wow, you're a strong player. And one is a scene where one girl is showing the team a bruise she got on her upper thigh. But even so, I can't really recommend this show for anyone who just wants to see cute moe characters and thighs. The character design is extremely mediocre. They all look like you made an MMO character and just changed her eye color, hairstyle, and height. It looks extremely generic. Oh, and their unwillingness to stray from typical moe archetypes really prevents you from truly remembering any character, let alone actually getting attached to them. Another negative thing about this show is the very lackluster animation. The animation in this show is what I can only describe as painfully basic and generic. It's not bad, but it's pretty close to it. Not to say there are no well animated bits, but even those are just kinda boring. There's no style or flair to it. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention the bad CGI. To be fair, it doesn't show up that much, but whenever it does, it takes you right out from whatever immersion you had while watching this show. And it sucks because sometimes I was very invested in a certain play or rally just to be knocked out by the ugly CGI. Wait, but there's more. A big problem with the show is its complete refusal to develop any of the opposing teams that the girls are facing. The first and last teams they face have some development. I'd say it's good enough, but the second team they face are literally non-characters. All of their designs are boring to the point where they're basically background characters, and the only one that gets attention looks way too similar to Tamaki. This shows how the show has no interest in making dynamic looking characters. Okay, so let's move on to the final 3 episodes. These are actually pretty good. There are some nice character moments, as nice as they can be. The baseball match is the most intense yet, and it's all accompanied by the best of what the show's soundtrack can offer. It was actually a really fun ending to the show, and it came up just when I was starting to get bored. Okay, so with all this said, what are my final thoughts on Tamayomi Baseball Girls? Well, overall, I actually really enjoyed this show, despite all the negative things I said. It's not great by any means, the characters are very basic, and most of the non-baseball interactions follow pretty generic moe tropes. But the interesting way it does and explains baseball made a baseball noob like me actually get pretty interested in the sport. Trying to figure out what was going on and all the complicated strategies and terminologies was actually pretty fun. And of course, the surprisingly amazing soundtrack kept me pumped throughout the whole show. It even made character moments that shouldn't make me feel anything actually make me feel something. Honestly, I can't really recommend this show to most people, but if you like or have an interest in baseball and anime girls, I'd say give it a shot. If you have like nothing else to do, you might find something you can enjoy. Tamayomi Baseball is anime junk food. Nothing less, nothing more. Under the right circumstances, you might have a great time, but no matter how much you enjoy it, you'll probably forget it in a couple of days. Hey, it's me, Feels. I just want to say thank you so much if you made it this far into the video, and maybe consider subscribing if you enjoyed. Like, it's just one button, it'll be super cool, but I mean, if you don't want to, you don't have to, right? You already watched the video, so I'm happy with that. If you want to see more of me and some of my friends, you can watch some of my gaming related content that is out, or you can join me next week for more seasonal anime garbage. Have a great day, and with that, see you guys later.